في البقرة.
الحمد لله. Start through the Fatiha first. Sheikh, are you going to start now? Sheikh Saidi, start now. Alhamdulillah.
ماشي يا سيدنا، نبدأ إن
بسم
شاء الله.
الله. الحمد لله.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
آمين. آمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله وباليوم الآخر وما هم بمؤمنين يخادعون الله والذين آمنوا وما يخدعون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون. وإذا قيل لهم آمنوا كما آمن الناس قالوا أنؤمن كما آمن السفهاء ألا إنهم هم السفهاء ولكن لا يعلمون. وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون الله يستهزئ بهم ويمدهم في طغيانهم يعمهون. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين.
Jazakallah khair. Akbar, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes. جزاك الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما ضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صم بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون أو كسيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق يجعلون أصابعهم في آذانهم من الصواعق حذر الموت والله محيط بالكافرين يكاد البرق يخطف أبصارهم كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وإذا أظلم عليهم قاموا ولو شاء الله لذهب بسمعهم وأبصارهم إن الله على كل شيء قدير يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين.
جزاك الله خير أبو عبد الرحمن، الله يخليك.
وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرة رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون إن الله لا يستحيي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن 7 سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم.
جزاك الله خير. دكتور رضوان.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا وتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم فلما أنبأهم بأسمائهم قال ألم أقل لكم إني أعلم غيب السماوات والأرض وأعلم ما تبدون وما كنتم تكتمون وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين وقلنا يا آدم اسكن أنت وزوجك الجنة وكلا منها رغدا حيث شئتما ولا تقربا هذه الشجرة فتكونا من الظالمين فأزلهما الشيطان عنها فأخرجهما مما كانا فيه وقلنا اهبطوا بعضكم لبعض عدو ولكم في الأرض مستقر ومتاع إلى حين فتلقى آدم من ربه كلمات فتاب عليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم.
جزاك الله خير. Jafar, do you want to read? You have to unmute yourself first, please.
It keeps going back to mute. Oh,
No,
it's
okay. Carry on.
Okay, I'll start now.
You're okay now.
قلنا اهبطوا منها جميعا فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن تبع هدايا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون وآمنوا بما أنزلت مصدقا لما معكم ولا تكونوا أول كافر به ولا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا وإياي فاتقون ولا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل وتكتموا الحق وأنتم تعلمون وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واركعوا مع الراكعين أتأمرون الناس بالبر وتنسون أنفسكم وأنتم تتلون الكتاب أفلا تعقلون واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم وأنهم إليه راجعون يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين واتقوا يوما لا تجزي نفس عن نفس شيئا ولا يقبل منها شفاعة ولا يؤخذ منها عدل ولا هم ينصرون.
جزاك الله خير. صدق الله العظيم. I think we'll stop here, inshallah. Give the opportunity for Dr. Muhammad Hashim. If you are in agreement, we'll continue on the next ayah tomorrow, rather than what we used to do in the past at the beginning of the second juz, because we don't know how long this meeting of ours will continue. So if you are agreeable, tomorrow we'll start with ayah 49 on page 8 in Medina. Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Dr. Muhammad Hashim.
If I start slightly, just one surah late before the start, Surah An-Naba, the taqsim of Al-Mus'haf into 30 juz is done by a man most of you don't like. What's his name? إني أرى رؤوسا قد أينعت. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. He is the one who divided that. So you don't like him for this, but you like him, but you use what he comes up with. So you know the difference between a Tugha in the past and the Tugha now. Now a Tugha now is useless, hopeless from all aspects. But previously the Tugha, they used to have some use out of them. Surah Al-Mursalat, it was revealed. This is the only, probably, it doesn't have Lafz al-Jalala at all. It doesn't have Allah. Allah is the word Allah is not written in Surah Al-Mursalat. This is in comparison to Surah Al-Mujadala or Al-Mujadila, where Lafz al-Jalala Allah was mentioned in the 22 surah, and actually it was repeated 36 times in the surah. Where was it revealed? It was revealed in a small cave in Mina, Ghar Saghir b'Mina. They said it is near Masjid al-Khayf. I forgot where is this masjid, but you look at how difficult was the da'wah. The da'wah was, this is surah number 33, and probably the progress made in the terms of numbers of people who have accepted Islam was very less. So if you see how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, during the night, he took his Sahaba and he was teaching them in a cave because they were frightened. Once they come out, they are going to have lots of ta'zeeb and lots of problems from Kuffar Quraysh. And if you go through from this surah, if you go forward, you will end at Surah An-Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. So again, this is another journey. The previous journey yesterday, we have taken it from Surah Iqra or Surah Al-Tin, because Surah Al-Tin, it gives us the place of where the Quran was revealed. So this journey is for the Quran. Today's journey is for the da'wah. The da'wah. By the way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you speak to anyone, what is Juz Salatin is the last Juz is talking about, will say to you Dar al-Akhirah, which is true in a way. There are about 24 names for Dar al-Akhirah, Al-Qiyamah, Al-Akhirah, Al-Yawm Al-Akhirah, Dar al-Akhirah, Al-Sa'a, Yawm Al-Ba'th, Al-Ghashiyah, Al-Tamma, Al-Sakha. Every one of them have a description for the last day. To me, if you are a doctor, if you are a patient going to have ECG, because the heart is very important organ according to the Western medicine, according to today's knowledge, your heart, they think it is the most important organ. So they do you ECG or they do you echo, and how they do it? You will have 2 electrodes in your hands to look to the heart from above, 2 electrodes in your feet to look to your heart from below, and you have 6 electrodes across your chest to look to your heart from every possible angle. And when they do echocardiography, they put the probe here above to see above. They put it here to see from below your heart. Even they can give you some sedation, and they do transesophageal echo to see from behind your heart. It is the same. Al-Qiyamah is very important. Not every Muslims are highly educated like you. Millions of Muslims can't read. Their understanding is very limited, and the deen is for everyone. So because of Qiyamah is very important, Allah is going to repeat it and to mention it from different angles, from different perspectives, so everyone can understand. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want the people to come on the last day who said, oh, you haven't told us, we didn't understand, my IQ is limited, and you were talking about difficult things. Yes, sometimes when we go to difficult surah, we try to do this and that, but this is not requested from all people. The all people, they just request, they have the basic things. They believe in Allah, they have the 5 pillars of Islam, 6 pillars of Iman, and you know, at Dar al-Akhirah, they watch their prayers, and that's it. It is nothing much is requested from them. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bringing lots of information about the Dar al-Akhirah. Another way to look to the last juz, it is like the intensive care medicine. When you intensive care unit, when you are sick and ill, or when you think there is severe problems with you, they put you inside the intensive care unit. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbidding us, all of us, to go there. And once you are slightly better, you go to another unit with less specification, less equipment. They call it high dependence unit. And when you are slightly better, you will go to the ward. And then when you are fantastic, they send you, or not necessarily fantastic, you just can manage your daily life. And then they take you. So it's the same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us intensive course. Probably you will see how the amount of information about the Dar al-Akhirah, about the Nar, about the burning, about this and that, it's going to be diluted slightly when we are going through this. So across the surah, you will find the difference in intensity of burning or threats to bad people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't forget anyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't forget al-mukaththibin. In Surah Al-Mursalat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have repeated 11 times, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Naba didn't forget at-tughar. لِلطَّاغِينَ مَآبًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made threat to al-Tughah, and asked, and he told us about them specifically. If we go to Surah An-Nazi'at, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give a specific deal for al-Tughah. And the one that he has the most of the deal, Fir'aun. قال أنا ربكم الأعلى. He said, and probably initially I stopped through Surah Al-Nazi'at. I was going through the surahs one after the other, but it just attracted my attention. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned قصة موسى وفرعون again here. And probably فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى. If any one of you, if I'm faulty, any one of you can correct me. This is the only surah that it brings this part. فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى. And this is a great sin. A man comes in front of his nation and they say to them, أنا ربكم الأعلى. فاستخف قومه فأطاعوه. The Egyptians, they were light-headed and they accepted them, والعياذ بالله. And still they are bringing some movie around how the Egyptian army is doing butulat against Ahl Sina, and they killed them, and the people who have PhD, my colleagues, they said Allahu Akbar al-Gaysh. And again, the media, they do a lot of miracle to play in the people's brain. And unfortunately, your level of education, it doesn't correspond sometimes with how mature your brain is. This is very difficult. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have making a special deal for Fir'aun. فَأَخَذَهُ اللَّهُ نَكَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. And why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. This is the only surah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about how al-malaika is going to remove ar-ruh from us. And there are different groups. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. This is the people like Fir'aun and the Kubar al-Kuffar. when they are going to deeply involve the malaika in removing al-ruh from al-jasad, because al-ruh is connected apparently to every part, to the nails, to the fingers, to everything. So they remove it part by part. Imagine this is very painful, very bad experience. While to the mu'min, وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا, they do it quick. So it is a difference between someone is removing your teeth without local anesthesia, or someone is doing your heart surgery without general anesthesia. Imagine how horrible the experience is. And it is mentioned here specifically with Fir'aun, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned فَأَخَذَهُ اللَّهُ نَكَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to not to leave at-tugha, because the people think why Allah is not perfect, why he leaves this, why Allah that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us time to change this problem. Why Fir'aun was a man, single man, why millions of people leave him to do that? This is mental problem before it is another problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the time to change. But فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about what will be the fate. Surah Abasa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us ad-da'wa lil jami'. Allah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this blind man, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't. He was trying to scheme to make da'wah to the other people of Kuffar Quraysh, but because he wants to make priority himself, and he didn't give much attention to this blind man. The blind man himself didn't notice, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, no, we have to make da'wah equally to everyone. It's not for the important people or not important people, because the important people might have problems in their heart. قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَ. They might not want to accept da'wah. So we notice now things are improving. Now a group of people comes to da'wah in comparison to the previously where no one. Surah At-Takwir, Al-Quran, ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling about من مظاهر القيامة إذا الشمس كورت, and then علمت نفس ما أحضرت, and then is telling about Al-Quran إنه لقول رسول كريم إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين. سورة القيامة مظاهر القيامة وتكذيب الكفار. كلا بل تكذبون بالدين, and whoever is going to make تكذيب, he will be in the fire hell. المطففين, especially السارقين, الحرامية, the people who steal, the people who the people who steal from £1 to millions of pounds, multimillionaires, multimilliardaires, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing them, and then saying كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين ويل يومئذ للمكذبين وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم.
جزاك الله خير الجزاء. مرحبا بكم مرة ثانية وكل عام وأنتم بخير. ومرحبا بالأستاذنا الحبيب بروفيسور موئل. نفتح له المجال يتكلم. أنا ما أعرف العنوان مالته بس أكيد راح يكون شيق إن شاء الله.
الله يبارك فيك. دائما نقول نفس الشيء. الله يكرمك. إن شاء الله يكون شيق. Today I actually thought of a few points to raise today. And because we are approaching Ramadan, it's very close. There's one interesting point to discuss or talk about, which is really it was triggered by an email or a WhatsApp I received from my son Ali, who say that different possibilities of seeing the moon in different places. You can see it before the starting of Ramadan. Accordingly, could have been one day before we started fasting. And the problem is here, he was referring to parts of the Far East and part of America. And in theory, the moon could have been sighted in America clearer than anywhere else. Now this brings me to what is the situation with regard to fasting in different places, like in Europe, like in UK. And I think this issue has been going on for a while among the Muslim community. But I think it's a self-resolving issue, really. It's not an issue that we should insist that everybody should fast at the same time. Although unusual that might sound. But we have a precedent, which is a hadith or a narration. You find it in Al-Tirmidhi, whereby one of the late companions or early tabi'een told us that he came from Sham. The hadith, فقدمت الشام فقضيت حاجتي واستهل علي رمضان وأنا بالشام فرأيت الهلال ليلة الجمعة ثم قدمت المدينة في آخر الشهر فسألني عبد الله بن عباس. Now we'll translate all of that. رضي الله عنهما ثم ذكر الهلال فقال متى رأيتم الهلال فقلت رأيناه ليلة الجمعة فقال أنت رأيته فقلت نعم ورواه الترمذي عفوا سوري فقلت نعم ورآه الناس وصام معاوية. يعني معاوية, in other words, معاوية was in Sham and Ibn Abbas was in Medina. فقال أي ابن عباس لكن رأيناه ليلة السبت فلا نزال نصوم حتى نكمل 30 أو نراه. فقلت أولا تكتفي برؤية معاوية وصيامه؟ فقال لا هكذا أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Now it's interesting when he said هكذا أمرنا رسول الله. Basically the hadith is narrated about Qurayb and who came from Sham to Medina, and when he arrived in Medina he came to Ibn Abbas, who obviously was the most senior face at that time, and he said, Qurayb said to Ibn Abbas, we started fasting on Friday. He said to him, did you see it yourself? Did you see the moon yourself? He said, yes, and other people saw it, and they started fasting. And then he said, we didn't see it on Friday, we saw it on Saturday. And then Qurayb responded by saying, are you not going to take the fasting specifically ألا تكتفي برؤية معاوية وصيامه? Is it not sufficing for you that Muawiyah is fasting and seeing it is enough? Ibn Abbas said, no, that is how Prophet ﷺ has ordered us. Now, ordered us here can be seen or interpreted by many as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, صوموا لرؤيته وافطروا لرؤيته فإن غم عليكم فعدوا أو كما قال. Now, the interesting question is not all of that only, but what was the position of Qurayb? Because he has already, by the end of Ramadan, he would have completed 30 days. And if he fasts, as Ibn Abbas tell him, or according to Medina, he would be fasting how many days? 31 days. And month of Ramadan usually is 30 days. The interesting thing is that Ibn Abbas, according to reliable narration, that وأمر ابن عباس قريب بالصيام أو ونهاه عن الإفطار. Why this happened? I mean, obviously Ibn Abbas, Habr al-Ummah, the most learned scholar in the Ummah knew that Quraib is going to fast 31 days. Now, there are two important points here. Both of them are relevant to the fiqh al-bi'i, which I want to sort of touch on it very shortly today. One is mentioned in a book which is called or mentioned in one of the fuqaha, most famous book, the book of San'ani, Al-Isha'a fi Bayan النهي عن فراق الجماعة. He cited this hadith or this athar in that particular section, which meaning that an individual should not be different than the jama'ah, than the group. Whereby some ulama say the reason for Ibn Abbas not taking the view of Quraib, لأن شهادة الواحد في الرؤية لا تعدل. I mean, obviously, when you see the moon, there has to be a certain number, at least two, before the Mufti would declare the fasting. Yes. Now, Ibn Abbas, when he ordered Quraib, he could be either of the two, or it could be both of them, whereby he didn't want him to be different than the Muslim Ummah, and at the same time, because of the testimony of one individual is not enough. And the point that this is important is that we can see what is called اختلاف المطالع, the difference in observation of the moon. And because we in the northern hemisphere, and we are in UK, if somebody see it in that spectrum, then it will be valid, provided that other people see the moon. And this is important because this is part of fiqh al-bi'a. Fiqh al-bi'a is the environmental fiqh. How do you understand Islam according to where you are living? And we in the West, or in Britain if you like, we have a plethora of concepts, practices, ideas that can govern us. But I think the fundamental aspect of all of these is how a Muslim would keep his identity, his hawiyya. And part of the hawiyya really is to have an understanding that you are living in an environment which is different than the environment of the Muslim world. I always said that. But living in this environment also requires a most pivotal concept, which is the identity of the Muslim. Hawiyat al-Muslim. Hawiyya, the identity, is extremely important. Whether it is relevant to language, whether it's relevant to food, whether it's relevant to dress, but it all comes from a proper understanding of Islam and a proper interpretation of Islam. Because quite often people are misled, and they are misled because they are not certain about certain practice, whether it falls within the acceptable boundaries of Islam or not. And I think one of the very useful guideline is the hadith الصحيح الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات. Halal is clear, haram is clear, and between them there are suspicious matters. And the person who avoids going in the suspicious is better for him. And he gave an example of al-hima. Al-hima means zones, and there are protected zones for grazing, and there are allowed zones for grazing, even at the time of the Prophet. And you should try your best to avoid as much as you can going to the protected or and not allowed area. And when we have an issue similar to that issue of the moon, I think we need to make sure that we at least have fasted 30 days. And how do we understand Islam from within all of that? There are so many issues. I mean, I decided to talk about this point, being one of the last or the last of my contribution to you on Ramadan, that there are different issues that we face in the Muslim, in the diaspora, in the non-Muslim country, so-called. And of course, we have to, first of all, ask ourselves, what is Muslim and what is not Muslim? Is it the one that is ruled by Islamic government, or it's not, or it's something else? Some people say it is governed by the community itself. If the vast majority of the society are Muslims, then this is a Muslim country. And we can learn from them, but we know today that even in the Muslim countries, there are a lot of misconceptions and lot of problems. And particularly in the Muslim world, they have been influenced by the so-called liberal civilization. And I use the word liberal with some reservation because it can have so many interpretations. And the Muslims in the Western, in the Islamic world, are actually described in few good words by the well-known scholar Malik bin Nabi. He says, the difference between us, he means the Muslim world, and the Japanese, because Japan is one of the countries which came out of a huge war, came out being bombed by 2 nuclear bombs, came out of all of that to create a civilization or to create a culture which is envied by the Western and American culture, whether they accept it or not. And what Malik bin Nabi said is that while the Japanese, after they collapsed, looked at Western civilization, meaning industrial civilization, as a pupil, we looked at them as a customer. And there's a huge difference between the two. In Japan, they wanted to learn what made them successful, what made them powerful, what made them able to create such a huge strides in industry and in all realms of life. And then they have taken that and tried to develop it and synthesize it in a way that would be fitting with their own culture. In Japan, for instance, the concept of industrialization and a factory is based on the theories of Japanese motivating scholars, which see a factory as a nuclear, a family nuclear, whereby every member of the factory see it as his own family, as one family. That is the tradition, the culture, the practice that was in Japan, infused with what they have learned as a pupil from other nations, not only really the West. I mean, Western culture is a very loose grasp, which includes so many things, and including Japan in its industrial revolution is included in that as well. Now, Muslims in the Muslim world sat as consumers and started import everything to their own land, particularly with the huge amount of oil revenue started oozing to them. The point is that that brought with what they have imported from the West, brought with it all the breaking elements that was targeting Islam, whether in a direct way or indirect. And I think it is more of an indirect, because Islamic culture and materialist culture are in head-on collision, and they do not agree with one another, because Islam is spirit and body, and the West is only focusing on the body. Of course, this is not the theory of Huntington, the clash of civilization, because the clash of civilization, according to Huntington, is something else, completely coming from a different angle. What I want to say is that we in the West, we don't need to necessarily stand as pupil to the Islamic world all the time. We can stand to the Islamic world and as a pupil in so many things. But the very important area is how do we maintain our own Western, if you like, identity. And the identity of the Muslim, I said that before, that we are Muslims, we are British or European or people who Brexit the West, depending on what is happening. But the point is that the identity is the identity of locality, and that apply to so many practices. And I can cite one or two practices which is prevalent among many Muslims, but need to be reconsidered. Now, when we meet here, usually we say Assalamu alaikum, the most beautiful word that is used in order to greet one another. But suppose that you go up in the bus and you say to the conductor, Assalamu alaikum. He will not understand it. Or you sit in the bus and say Assalamu alaikum to somebody who's sitting next to you. Or in the train. In fact, you know, in the train, I had so many, I was fortunate because I used to travel a lot on the train. And I used to talk to people when I'm in the train and learn from them. And if they understand the meaning of Assalamu alaikum, that would be good. But to start by showing them an angry face without smiling, without saying hello, without trying to understand what is happening, then that can create some kind of a boundary which is difficult to penetrate. And we Muslims, we have responsibility. The responsibility really is represented in understanding the surrounding without falling on the traps that are very threatening, very dangerous. I mean, they might be very threatening and very dangerous for our generation, at least my generation, the old decrepit generation. But the young generation, I think our children and our grandchildren, they need to be carefully treated and also realize that they are a new breed which combines our own experience with the experience in the West. And hopefully in the future, and many of them are showing that, I mean, you can see that in so many examples today in the West and indeed in Britain, whereby the new generation has taken positions which are very important, engineers, doctor, you name it really, even higher than that. I'm not going to say the Secretary of Treasury, but I mean, I would like to say, you know, something about how do we look after our own children for the future. I'm going to finish with a point which is seen as important in the sense that the maslaha, which is called al-maslaha, which is the public interest. The public interest is something that needs to be understood also. And without understanding the maslaha is from the salah, it's basically from correctness, from reformation. And this is one of the rules on which many Muslim scholars has utilized in the past in order to understand both the text and its of the Quran and the text of the Hadith. And maslaha can be also a two-edged sword. It has to be taken very carefully. But it is something that need really carefully to be considered and taken into action. The Prophet ﷺ has given us many examples during his lifetime, like for instance, Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Like for instance, not accepting the truce with Musaylam al-Kadhab. Musaylam al-Kadhab was, as I spoke to you before, was a great power, really powerful. I mean, he was able to lose 40,000 men. But obviously the Prophet found something which is number one from an aqidah.
Dr. Moaal, and the connection problem with internet. But for those of you who just joined in or maybe did not start at the beginning, the issue he's discussing is quite an interesting one, and is really to do with the differences between the different Muslim nations and the localities, and to how to abide by the beginning of a lunar month and the end of the lunar month. And that would also apply to the issue of Ramadan. We have lost him for a minute, and he'll be coming back again, inshallah. But Sheikh Mohsen is with us now. As he was talking, and Dr. Fawaz, and as he was talking, I was thinking, I was reflecting back on my childhood. And I remember, Iraq went through different times. So many times, my family, we are very conservative Muslim people, did not agree with the rulers. But when it came to Eid, I remember my father insisted that we'll just follow what the country would have decided, even though at the time we used to frown on it and say, why should we be doing this? Because such and such another country, which we love more, is not having Eid tomorrow. And he always used to quote the phrase, وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. And in a way, now I'm reflecting on it, and I think he was very right, because it is wrong to be fasting when everybody is having their Eid, okay? And to me, if you fast one day more because you come from another place to the place where you end up Ramadan is, I will turn to Sheikh Mohsen. It's not a big deal because you will be fasting the last day of Sha'ban and you're finishing the whole of Ramadan 30 days. So I think it is so important, and we were talking about this the other day as well, so important to have the feeling of the people you are with, whether they are in a Muslim country or not, and not to be an isolation from them. Sheikh Mohsen is with us, so I'll turn to him, and I will wait for Professor Moaal. He's coming back now.
I mean, for this particular issue, I mean, from the fiqh point of view, is the only time you can what you call oppose or have a different way of the jama'ah or your country is if you have seen the moon yourself by your eyes. And also you are in this situation, you are recommended, for example, if I see in the moon, tomorrow is Ramadan, and the government or the country announced Ramadan is after tomorrow. So I am commanded to fast Ramadan tomorrow, but not to tell anyone. So I have to tell the authority, if I can reach the authority of the government or maybe responsible people, minister, whatever, and they take my shahada, is fine. If not, so I fast Ramadan secretly because I shouldn't make any fitna. The same thing with Eid. So if I have seen the moon as well and people still fasting, so I break up the fast and this is my Eid day, but I don't tell anyone. So it's unity of the ummah is very important. And in this particular matter, Rasulullah SAW has mentioned and has stressed to follow your own country. It's different from any political issue at all. Yeah.
For some of it,
I'm sorry. I got my internet got dead.
Yes,
I'm
we realize that. We
Yes.
did. I'm going to open it for any comments or any.
Can I just finish the point? Because the point I was trying to make, that Rasulullah sent Habib bin Zayd to Musaylam al-Kadhab, on which Musaylam not only killed Habib, but he killed him slowly. He cut his body piece by piece and asking him to declare that he is the Prophet of Allah. And that's what caused the Prophet ﷺ his anger and started an army against him. And he was later on defeated by Khalid bin Walid under the leadership of Abu Bakr. To sum up, there has to be an understanding of what you are doing and where you are living. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakallah khair. I'll open it for any other comments because it's such a beautiful subject, really. And it is a subject with us from the first day I knew what is Ramadan is and what's Eid. It's been an ongoing issue through my lifetime. So any other comments, any other questions? دكتور فواز؟
بس إذا ممكن.
تفضل دكتور فواز.
جزاكم الله خير دكتور موئل على الكلام. أنا ما حضرتش الكلام من بداية. بس بدي أسأل آخر شيء بموضوع مسيلمة الكذاب. أنت ذكرت الآن إنه مسيلمة الكذاب كان على أيام الرسول. وأنا أعرف إنه مسيلمة الكذاب أجى بعد وفاة الرسول بالردة لما توفى الرسول فالناس ارتدت عن الإسلام وطلع مسيلمة الكذاب. فهل كان موجود على أيام الرسول مسيلمة؟
هو كان this is the question is I know that Musaylam was at the time of Hurub al-Ridda and not at the time of the Prophet. But historically speaking, this is incorrect. Historically speaking, we have a lot of documentation that he started his da'wah or his false da'wah during the time of the Prophet, and he went with Banu Hanifa to Banu Hanifa was one of the very large tribes in Arabia, huge competition to the Qurayshis, and they felt that this is going to be a threat to them. That is why they supported him. And the rest of the story what I have told you. And the important thing, Khalifa Abu Bakr, he actually suppressed that and spent everything in order to fight them, because the Prophet ﷺ started an army to send it to fight Musaylamah, and then he died. That is what is historically proven. It happened right at the time, the end of the life of the Prophet ﷺ.
As I said, it's such a big subject. Abu Abdurrahman Ibrahim, تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakumullah khairan, Doctor. Just I have a small comment. You mentioned Malik bin Nabi, and I remembered, I just remembered his famous term, al-Qabiliyya al-Istimar, or ability of colonization. I think he referred to this term in his famous book Shurut al-Nahda, maybe. So what comes to my mind is Muhammad Gilal Kishk in Egypt. I think he mentioned, I think the same expression, maybe for the traders in Egypt and the rich people when they deal with their French servants. They used to feel embarrassed when they eat with their own hands without forks or spoons or something like this. So my question is, if it's the case in our countries, how about here for us? If we feel embarrassed with our traditions, with our principles of our religion, so how it could be here in the Western countries, and how about the next generation?
Yes, I mean, that's a very good question. Very good question, brother Ibrahim, because the point is that I'm trying to make is that we have to identify where does the boundaries of Islamic identity and the Islamic identity, and sometimes it sounds a bit difficult, but I can see that there is a new development in the West in such a way that is particularly among many Muslims, that is sometimes very correct and very helpful and very useful, and sometimes can be threatening. Like, for instance, the phenomena of hijab. Hijab really is not, you see lots of sisters now, lots of our children, they wear head cover, but they wear jeans or they wear tight clothes. And you see that not only in the West, but you see it quite often in the Muslim countries. I mean, I saw it in Turkey so many times. I saw it even in Qatar, which is a very reserved country. I saw it and I can see it while I watch TV in the Iraqi channels, the same thing. But that is where we have to be, the alarm, has to ring, whereby women has to be taught that hijab really, you can wear anything so long as لا يصف ولا يصف محمودا حديث أسماء. And this is the one of the, there are so many other worries which, unless Muslims themselves take initiative and try providing the proper understanding of Islam, then somebody else is going to do it for us. And there are people who are doing it, actually. We have to realize there is difference between rebuilding a house and knocking it completely off. And there is difference between modernization and reculturalization. Modernization is to take the house and change the window, change the doors, build a new porch, things like that. And our houses need these new windows and porches in order to be habitable. When you come and knock it down completely and build, instead of a house, a discotheque or a pub, then that is something extremely clearly worried. But it can be even worry if you rebuild the house in such a way whereby you do not take reservation for the isolation of men and women while they are talking. Because, I mean, although I don't see a huge problem in that, but when it comes to the meetings of women, I think there has to be some kind of separation. You see that all the houses is an open plan houses. If you build a house like that, then also you have to be careful about it. Wallahu alam.
Jazakumullah khair. I know the time is, Sheikh Mohsen, do you want, I'll give you the last word before I close the meeting. Inshallah, we'll meet again tomorrow because
I would like very much to hear.
I'm going to share with you the arrangement for the Eid. I believe the Eid is going definitely to be Sunday, but I will share that with you. But we'll meet again tomorrow, inshallah. We would not have a reminder. Sheikh Mohsen hopefully would be with us, but we will make it Quran and more probably give Dr. Muhammad Hashim a chance to say a few words, but we'll have it for a chit chat, inshallah, tomorrow. Sheikh Mohsen.
Jazakallah khair. Not really, just to confirm what Dr. Moaal said about answering the question for Dr. Fawaz. Yes, Musaylim al-Kadhab started in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even there was a letter between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Musaylima. Musaylima sent the letter. He asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to share the authority of the earth with him. You have لك نصف الأرض ولي نصف الأرض. So, and he said from Musaylima from Prophet of Allah to Muhammad, Prophet of Allah. And Rasulullah sallallahu replied from Muhammad sallallahu Prophet of Allah to Musaylima, the liar. And then subhanallah, the Jaysh al-Ridda it was not because of Musaylima only. It was about Jaysh al-Ridda. People left Islam for too many things. They were shocked of the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they interpreted Quran in different. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Surah At-Tawbah, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُم وَتُذَكِّيهِم بِهَا. Take from them, O Muhammad, charity. And they interpreted the ayah. They said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take from them Muhammad. Muhammad has passed away, so we are not giving it to anyone else. Anyway, they had a valid point. So and then Musaylima and his group, they worked hard, but there was too many reasons for this. It was a big fitna, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jalla chose somebody like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq to lead the ummah at this time, and alhamdulillah. Jazakallah
And the
khair.
presence of Khalid ibn al-Walid as well, really.
Yes.
Before we leave that, Sheikhna, what's the ayah? فمن أظلم من افترى على الله كذبا أو قال أوحي إلي ولم يوحى إلي شيء.
نعم سورة الأنعام. نعم.
هذه في مسيلمة نزلت؟
No, it was somebody. I think someone else. I think someone else. I forgot his name.
طيب والله الكلام معكم جيد ولطيف وحلو إن شاء الله. كل عام وأنتم بخير. بعدنا بكرة صيام إن شاء الله. وإن شاء الله نتلاقى بكرة ونتكلم على بالنسبة للعيد.
جزاكم الله خير. بارك الله فيك.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور موال. جزاك الله ألف خير.
بارك الله. السلام عليكم.